We think Tesla is going to go autonomous at scale or much more quickly than any of its competitors.
Hey, I'm Stephen and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So everyone's favourite Queen Cathie Wood of ARK Invest just appeared on CNBS, shared her thoughts on many topics. The full interview is linked in the description if you guys would like to check it out. You may notice a lot of negativity, a lot of FUD coming at Cathie. Now, this is to be expected from a network like CNBS, let's be honest, but it did seem there was almost an agenda. There wasn't a single positive thing said in the entire interview, in my opinion. But Cathie had some very interesting thoughts about Tesla, their so-called competition, and more. That's what we're going to focus on in this video. So let's get into it. And by the way, since I know there's a lot of crypto lovers watching and people who like free stuff, it's your lucky day. For a limited time, you can get up to $250 in free crypto bonuses when funding a new account on BlockFi, where you can use cryptocurrency to earn interest, borrow cash, and buy or sell crypto. If you want your free crypto, use the link in the description. It also helps out the channel. And if you'd like up to 2 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 1 free stock valued up to $250 just for opening an account. And if you fund your account with $100, you'll get a second free stock valued up to $1,600. Unless you don't like free stocks, that is. And if you're in Australia, the UK, or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake, also using the link in the description. Let's get back to it.
Cathie, I wanted to talk Tesla, one of your favorite stocks, because that's part of the performance issue. It's off 25% from the highs. And there's some real questions right now about the reliance on autopilot and whether that has led to some deaths.
No, there aren't any questions about Tesla's autopilot safety. The only questions are around the integrity and motivations of Consumer Reports, who once again, I just want to explicitly state in no uncertain terms, are dangerously stupid morons. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, check out the card in the corner and you'll totally understand. I just wanted to point out the FUD already. The tsunami of FUD just keeps on coming at Cathie Wood, already throwing some stuff out there, inferring and suggesting there's questions about autopilot safety when they're not. Again, spreading lies, misinformation, and FUD without any facts behind them whatsoever. It's just like, hey, FUD, FUD, FUD. Hey, Cathie, here's some FUD. Catch. Here's some FUD. Here's some more FUD. Here's some more FUD. This is the tone of the entire interview, if you guys haven't noticed. So just wanted to point that out. There is no question about autopilot safety, except in the minds of people whose intelligence is questionable. I said it. I mean it. Let's move on.
You have been super bullish on Tesla's autonomous future and the vision of robo-taxis. Isn't that problematic, given some of the concerns here around safety?
Not even 30 seconds later, more FUD, more lies, more disinformation, more fear being spread, more uncertainty being spread, and more doubt being spread about Tesla and the safety of autonomous software. Now, I really want to take a moment to just explain why this is such an important thing to address. Okay, let's be honest, okay? I said this in a recent video, I'm going to say it again. People get butthurt, but it's also true. The average IQ of somebody who relies on the mainstream media for their information, unquestionably, is probably a standard deviation or more below somebody who, for example, seeks out their own information and draws their own conclusions based on having done some homework rather than just being spoon-fed their opinions and beliefs. There are people, as a direct result of the FUD, the lies and misinformation started by Consumer Reports, now being propagated by these idiots on CNBS and other mainstream media outlets. As a direct result of this, there will be people who go, you know what, I'm never getting one of those Teslas, they're super unsafe. 20 years later, 10 years later, 5 years later, they're still driving around their Honda Civic because they decided, I'm going to stay away from a Tesla. They get in a collision and they end up dead or permanently injured or disabled because they got scared away from buying a Tesla, not because they looked at the information, but because they heard there were some questions, it was dangerous, blah, blah, blah. This is important. People will die. These idiots will have blood on their hands by spreading this misinformation about autopilot. It just does my head in. It is so irresponsible. It is shameful. It's disgusting. There are no questions around the safety of autopilot, and it is absolutely repugnant that these muppets would ask these kind of questions. Again, we just have to understand. You and I understand that we don't believe whatever we see on TV. We're not idiots. But most people out in the world are idiots, and they actually believe this stuff, and they will take actions based on what they've heard. Most people are too lazy. They just read headlines. Oh, okay. That's why half the world hates Elon Musk, because like, oh, I read a headline about this rich billionaire. Why doesn't he give money to charity? Not even realizing he doesn't take a salary, okay? So this is really important. As a direct result of this stupidity and propagating these lies, spreading this FUD about Tesla, people are going to die and going to suffer as a direct result. This is so irresponsible. It's just unbelievable.
Actually, I think we've gotten some very important information recently that Tesla is seeing its way through, so to speak, to autonomous. And that is they've decided to take radar out of the ecosystem and just depend on vision, computer vision, CV. So 8 cameras
Speaking of depending on vision, I'm not going to be able to do that for much longer. Getting blinded by the sun again. Why am I such an idiot? I record at the same time every day, guys. Regular viewers of the channel like, Stephen, what are you doing, you moron? Every fucking day it's the same thing, right? Getting blinded by the sun. But I want to talk about this. I recently tweeted about this when I heard that they were removing radar. A lot of people had questions like, wait a minute, how are you going to see through fog, blah, blah, blah. I just want to take a step back. In fact, let me just show you the tweet that I made on the date that this was announced. Tesla was going to remove radar from future vehicles. So Elon Musk there implying that Tesla was going to remove radar completely. My tweet, this is huge. Tesla to remove radar from vehicles and rely purely on vision. Elon is basically swinging around Tesla's giant FS dick at this point. The robo-taxis are coming. Now, what I'm talking about here is this was a huge tell. It shows how confident Tesla are in their ability to solve full self-driving completely through computer vision. This was an extremely bullish sign. Now, a lot of people had questions. Hey, what about seeing through fog rain? First of all, let's just take a step back here. Is it true that sometimes there are weather conditions in which it is unsafe to drive a vehicle? You just do not have enough visibility, human or otherwise? Answer would be yes. I'm sure some of you have driven through snow, thick fog, insane rain, etc. where you literally had to pull over. There was not enough visibility. It was super dangerous unless you're a moron and kept driving, in which case, hope that natural selection gets you one day, mate. Get the fuck out of the gene pool. Anyway, the point is, there's some situations where you just never will be able to drive safely if vision is impaired. Radar would be helpful in that situation. I'm not going to question that whatsoever. You can see through stuff. That's awesome. But I just want to make the point. I want to make it really clear because some people don't quite understand. With advanced AI and computer vision, and a suite of cameras, which by the way can see a little bit outside the visible range of light, I think a little bit into infrared and a little bit into ultraviolet as well, can contain a little bit more information. Using AI, you can actually determine and deduce a lot more than human eyes will be able to, even if visibility is extremely limited. The point I'm getting at is that a pure vision-based system ultimately will become much, 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 much better than a human ever could in all weather conditions and all visibility conditions. There will sometimes be an occasion where even an autonomous vehicle, if it doesn't have radar, isn't going to be able to drive safely through certain weather. I admit that. But overall, net, it's going to be a much better outcome. Computer vision will see much better and be able to drive much safer than a human. Just remember, they're using AI these days now to do things like detect exoplanets, early stage cancer and stuff that humans can't perceive. They're seeing the same information, a total lack, almost no change, very little to work with, and still being able to determine and deduce very real, useful, and applicable information. So, guys, don't worry too much. You think, oh my god, no radar, it's never going to work now, they can't see through shit. It's not going to be that big of a deal. And this, as I said, is a hugely bullish sign from Tesla. The fact that they're so confident now that they can solve vision without needing to fall back on radar, which in my opinion is almost training wheels, is perfect. And as Elon has mentioned, you don't want mixed signals. What do you do if you have a conflict between the radar-based information and vision? Which do you want to rely on? Exactly.
I think they're getting much closer. And, you know, as far as autonomous, when anyone talks about safety in an autonomous vehicle, they have to consider the alternative. The alternative is human-driven travel. Humans are responsible for 80% plus of all fatalities in automobiles. And so autonomous is going to really take that issue away from us.
I'm glad that Cathie's making the point here. It's really important for people to look at the data and not get so caught up in their emotions. But we all intuitively know what's going to happen the day that a Tesla runs over a pedestrian and kills them for the first time. It's going to be the end of the world. It's going to be all over the news, despite the fact that, let's say, this is a 1 in 20 billion mile event, whereas a typical human-driven vehicle runs over a person. I don't actually know the numbers, but let's say it happens 20 times as often, or 50 times as often, or 100 times as often. Even so, even with the data, we all know what's going to happen. People's emotions, oh my god, it's a robot, autonomy, it's unsafe, oh my god, it killed somebody, never again, ban the software. This is exactly what's going to happen, and it's good that we're having these conversations ahead of time, because people just don't get it. The day will come, there's going to be a huge amount of FUD in the media when the first pedestrian dies and other situations like that as well. But we have to look at the data. If people get so caught up in their emotions instead of looking at the numbers, this could likely cause a huge amount of suffering, unnecessary death, pain, injury, and all sorts of other problems as well, because people get scared away from superior technology because of their emotions rather than looking at the actual facts. This kind of FUD being propagated about a lack of safety, some concerns, etc., is literally, as I said earlier, literally going to cost people's lives.
We think that we're much closer than most do. We think we're probably not as close as Tesla thinks it is. But we do think within the next 2 years, we're going to see some really surprising breakthroughs from Tesla. We've been watching Waymo and Cruise Automation here, and we think they're probably struggling with how to scale that business.
I'm not going to lie. Waymo and Cruise are fucked. Like, fucked. Not just like in trouble. They are fucked. The approach that they're taking to solving autonomy isn't actually an approach to solving autonomy whatsoever. It's actually an approach to putting little vehicles in a tiny sandpit with training wheels and letting them do their thing. It is not scalable whatsoever. Now, I just want to talk about the differences between the two approaches, that of Waymo and Cruise, that of Tesla. Tesla is solving for computer vision, right? Once Tesla has solved autonomy, you'll be able to pick up a Tesla, drop it on any road, anywhere on planet Earth, and it will safely get you to your destination. You don't need to pre-map. You don't need to do anything because you've solved computer vision. The difference between what Tesla is doing, oh, and by the way, you might have noticed Tesla's already got 1.5 million vehicles on roads, covered in sensors. Over-the-air software update, they'll become autonomous overnight. The robo-taxis will awaken. This is already scaling, okay? They're scaling their autonomous network before they've actually solved autonomy completely. This is brilliant. The more the network scales, the more data, the more information, the better the software gets. This is a feedback loop. It's a brilliant 200 IQ solution. The approach of Waymo and Cruise, however, is quite different. They're not attempting to solve generally so you can drop one of their vehicles anywhere on planet Earth and it will safely get you to your destination. In fact, if you were to do that and drop one of these vehicles outside their pre-mapped geofenced area, they would kill people, no question, because they've never been there before. It's very dangerous. It's unsafe. The approach that Waymo and Cruise are having effectively is to build a gigantic sandpit. Actually, it's not even gigantic. It's a really tiny sandpit that your car can't get out of. It's stuck in this little sandpit. Then stick some training wheels on it too. Now, what am I talking about? The sandpit is a geofenced area. You cannot leave your sandpit because if you do, you're probably going to kill people and we don't want that. So stay in the sandpit. Then you attach some training wheels, aka you pre-map the entire area ahead of time with LiDAR, and then effectively, you don't really have an autonomous vehicle. You effectively have a vehicle on rails. It's like putting it on a train track because it's going through this same pre-mapped area using LiDAR to make sure it's on the track, so to speak, and it can't deviate from that, okay? So you've got a car that's stuck in a sandpit with training wheels. How do you scale? Well, if you want to go into a new area, you need to build a new sandpit, a new geofenced area. Then you need to pre-map that new area with LiDAR. Then, after a little bit of testing, you can safely deploy your autonomous vehicle in the new sandpit on the new rails. And again, you pick that thing, drop it out of the sandpit, it'll kill people. You guys understand, right? Tesla has a scalable solution that's scaling automatically as they sell new vehicles and improving, whereas Waymo and Cruise forever stuck in a sandpit with training wheels because they're not solving general autonomy. They're cheating. They're using training wheels. It might look the same at the surface level, but they are completely different business models. And there's no fucking way Waymo and Cruise are going to be able to scale. Even if it took Tesla 5 or 10 years to solve autonomy, there's no way that Waymo and Cruise could scale to that level over that period of time. It's just not economically feasible.
We think Tesla is going to go autonomous at scale or much more quickly than any of its competitors.
And then there's the China issue. They seem to be really clashing with customers on social media, the public.
Now, there has been quite a lot of anti-Tesla FUD in China of late, and my favorite example of this was a woman who'd been protesting at various events, trying to get attention in the media, finally worked at an automotive show, had literally been hiring models to draw attention to a car claiming that the brakes failed in her Tesla. Hilariously, however, after getting some attention, Tesla had a response. This moron, this dickhead, this piece of shit human being, whatever you want to call her, something along those lines, I mean, being deceptive, had tried to mislead people and claim that the brakes had failed in a Tesla, wouldn't engage with Tesla, weren't being very helpful, wouldn't let Tesla examine the vehicle, etc. So Tesla's like, okay, you want to lie? Fuck you, bitch, we're going to release the data. It turns out that the brakes didn't fail. The moron driving the vehicle was significantly over the speed limit, speeding, breaking the law, and didn't have enough time to brake. All the while, this dipshit was going around saying the brakes failed, not realizing that Tesla actually captures data of the vehicle and was able to disclose, because she wasn't cooperating, the private information. Hey, guess what? Person driving the vehicle was speeding, the brakes didn't fail, they were breaking the law. They didn't have enough time to brake. And then, after being caught red-handed, what does she do? She tries to claim that Tesla has breached her privacy. Well, here's a pro tip to anyone who ever wants to lie about something that's going on in a Tesla in the future and try and blame the car, the technology, etc., when it's not actually the case. Tesla will release your data. So here's a pro tip. Just don't lie. Pretty simple. I mean, that's not that difficult. Tell the truth? No problem. Lie, mislead, deceive people, harm Tesla's brand? Well, they might release the data proving that you're full of shit and kill your credibility, as they should do. It does raise the question, was this person acting on her own, or maybe is there an agenda behind the scenes? Now, I don't know, I don't want to point any fingers here, just thinking out loud. But in either case, You're not getting away with it anymore. You want to lie about what happened with a Tesla? Guess what? Tesla's just going to release the data.
And the government, what do you think is going on there? And how much of a risk factor is that for the stock and the business?
Well, we do think that that China wants its locals to win. We saw, I think just in this week, NIO, because of the battery swap system it has, no matter what it's pricing its cars at, it's going to get subsidies, whereas the Model Y will not get subsidies in China.
Now, I need to give some credit to NIO for playing the game here. I've previously shared my thoughts on NIO's battery swap technology. In a nutshell, absolutely idiotic. Now, why would I say that? Let's think about this, guys and girls. What's the most expensive thing in a vehicle, an electric vehicle? The battery pack. Is it good use of capital to have a dozen battery packs sitting around not actually being used, waiting for somebody to swap them out at a battery swap station when you could have just sold half a dozen more vehicles? No, it's not. It makes no sense. I was like, what are you guys doing? Are you idiots? Are you morons? What are you doing? Now I understand. It was to take advantage of these incentives. NIO isn't doing battery swap technology because it makes economic or business sense, in my opinion. They're doing it solely to take advantage of government incentives. So, well played, NIO. I didn't realize you're actually smarter than you looked.
So there is some favoritism for locals, but we found something out very interesting this week. If you look at the drop in share of Tesla's cars in the electric vehicle space in China, what you will also see is an increase in the number of exports to Europe. And in talking to the company, we found it curious. And it seems that the quality of cars being built in China, in that, super modern factory, the quality is much higher than those being built in Fremont. And we know that the European customer used to beautiful German cars is very particular about quality and design. And we Texas will be a step up as well. So Fremont's just a very old plant. So it was very interesting to learn that. And so I think that Tesla will manage the issue you've identified and that many are discussing by exporting to the rest of the world. And I think China's going to like that. China has not been a big exporter of autos to the developed world. This will be a feather in their cap.
I think a lot of people overlook this, but it's a really important point. Tesla's Made in China Model Y and Made in China Model 3 are their most profitable vehicles and their best quality. And Tesla isn't just building them in China to sell within China. They're designed for export as well. A lot of people weren't really thinking about this. And of course, here's a great way to spin this into FUD. Tesla's deliveries fall dramatically in China this quarter. But you don't mention that their exports to Europe or to Australia, the Asia Pacific region, have suddenly grown enormously because that's where the vehicles went. But yeah, you can spin it into FUD. So you'll see a little bit more of this in the future. When Tesla has a huge month or a quarter for exports out of China, suddenly their sales in China are collapsing. It's the end of the world. But don't tell anybody where the actual vehicles went. Yeah, well, forget about that. Let's just focus on the FUD. So there'll be more of that in the future. Mark my words. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I'm not going to lie, I'm getting a little bit tired of fighting all this FUD, but I just can't let this stuff go, man. When I see disinformation that's going to cause legitimate harm to people, either physical harm, risk of death or injury, or financial harm, I just can't let it go. And by the way, just again, speaking of not letting it go, hey, Consumer Reports, just a soft, gentle message here. Go fuck yourselves, you dangerously stupid morons. You are responsible for the tsunami of FUD relating to autopilot and the dangers of autonomous vehicles. You guys have blood on your hands, and so do the dipshits in the mainstream media who now are propagating these same lies and misinformation. There's no questions about the safety of autopilot, just questions about the integrity of the mainstream finance media and Consumer Reports. And I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Do you think CNBS is corrupt, incompetent, or both? I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget, if you'd like up to $250 in free crypto bonuses with BlockFi, use the link in the description. You can also get 2 free stocks with WeBull and a free stock with Stake, also linked in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. P.S. If you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.